If you're not moving forward in life, you're moving backwards. This is Ace and Jamie, and this is Breakpoint Podcast.
Our goal is to create and deliver content that evokes a change of spirit and heart, seeking out messages that will relate and inspire.
Stories and experiences of people and their breakpoint in life.
Little rough around the edges, completely unhinged, and wildly compassionate.
We bring you Breakpoint Podcast. What's going on, guys? Ace and Jamie here. We just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about a really important topic of investing into yourself. I've always heard from coaches and mentors, the number one best investment you can make is in yourself. And the second best investment you could ever make is into other people. And what does that mean? And when I first sat down, I was like, what do you mean invest into myself? I was like, what does that mean? Like, people think school and certain things like that. But really, investing into yourself is taking a percentage of your income. Because I heard someone say you should always take 10% of whatever you make, always, no matter how much it is, and always invest it back into you. And what does that mean? That could be reading books. That could be going to personal development seminars or any type of seminar that's going to help you grow as an individual. It could be joining some sort of mentorship group of some sort of networking group of people who are maybe successful or in your field that are going to help you get better. There's a million ways you can do it. But the moment I started to say, hey, that makes sense, and I started to pick up books and invest in reading books and listening to audios, I started noticing that my mindset started changing, and I started believing in myself a million times more than I ever had, because we all have this goal that we want to get to, but we have no idea how to get there. And maybe you don't currently have a mentor yet to get there, but there's a lot of mentors in books and in videos and in seminars and on the internet and on YouTube that you can find that'll help you get there, at least help you take that initial step to say, all right, man, I had no idea how to buy my first home. I had no idea how to flip a house. I had no idea how to start maybe writing a book. I had no idea how to start an online business. And there's so many people that are out there. There's so much information that you guys can take a little bit of money and invest it into something and say, I'm going to get a million times return back because I'm going to go out and do something with it.
Have you ever, so you ever tell somebody that, there's some type of an event coming up and it's going to be at such and such place. Maybe it's a landmark. Maybe it's a hotel. Maybe it's at a venue hall, whatever. And somebody messages you back and says, what's the address? And you ever just think to yourself, and I know this is a terrible thing to think. Do you know what I'm going to say?
What are you going to say?
I'm going to say that. You don't know what I'm going to say?
What are you going to say?
That they need to Google it.
I didn't know you were going to say that. I think you're going to say something.
So why did you say it? But yeah, so Google it. So why do I have to Google it for you? Because as soon as I say, meet me at this place for a meeting. All right. Maybe it's the Starbucks in Syosset. Let's meet at the Starbucks in Syosset. Okay. What's the address? Hey, you know what I'm going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to put it in Google. I'm going to put it in Google, the Starbucks in Syosset, and guess what's going to pop up? The address. And then I'm going to copy and paste that address, and I'm going to send it to you. So there's the difference. There's the person who asks someone else for the address, and there's the person who Googles it themselves. And I know it's a terrible analogy, but to me it makes sense, because the people who Google it themselves are proactive. They're people who want information. They don't want to wait for information to be given to them. If you've ever done that, I'm not trying to call you someone who's not proactive or not somebody who wants information, but it's just a pet peeve of mine. So I apologize in advance. Judgment-free zone. All right. But if you think about it, the analogy that I like to use is your mind is a garden. Okay. And when you have a garden, what is the one thing that no matter what is going to grow? If you don't water it, if you don't give it sunlight, if you don't give it fertilizer, you don't take care of a garden. Okay. If you're planting tomatoes, your tomatoes may not grow, but what is going to grow? Weeds. Weeds are going to grow. And so if you don't tend your garden, that garden being your mind, if you don't constantly give it good things, if you don't constantly go in and take out the negative, AKA weed the garden and feed more positive into the garden, then nothing good will ever grow. And so to me, that's personal development. To me, that's investing in myself. It's saying, hey, I can't afford not to pay the lawn guy to come, because if the lawn guy doesn't come, my mind doesn't get fed. And so it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm getting access to any information, all the best information I can. And you know what? Not any information. The first thing that I'll do before I start to read or I start to research something is I want to know, where did that come from? Who wrote it? who created the research that I'm about to read so that I know I'm getting it from a credible source. Okay, Quora, unfortunately, is not a credible source. In fact, we have this funny game that we play every 2 weeks where we'll pull up Quora randomly, and we'll read the first 3 questions. If anyone else gets it to their email, that's me. And the craziest questions come up, and I'm like, this is the person who doesn't know how to access information. They're asking the most random stuff, but it's hysterical. So that's not an information source. And so it's very, very, very important that you know where to get the right tools, where to get the right information, and that you're studying things and you're reading and listening to things that are going to help you grow. So yeah, so those are my 2 little quick stories.
No, that's awesome. I mean, we're all guilty of it, right? I'm guilty of it, and I'm married to her, right? With the
Don't ask me for the address.
So, but you know, a lot of it's not our fault. You know, I think the way the schooling system trains us, it consistently trains us to ask before we do something or wait to be told what to do. So we're almost pre-programmed and conditioned to not know what to do and have to ask for help when it's like, no, school didn't exist. Like, you would figure it out. And some people just have the God-given ability that they're raised. They just have natural entrepreneurship in them where they're just always mentally, their brain just works that way. And then there's other people who have maybe entrepreneurship type tendencies where they're kind of in the middle. And then there's other people who don't have it at all, right? They need to really work hard to earn and learn that so they can go out and do some stuff. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, you know, we're saying it and like, this is common sense, but you know, common sense isn't that common if you guys have kind of heard that. So what are some action steps? I mean, think about it. Everything you've wanted, there's no excuse today. This phone right here, there's no excuses for you not to be able to do anything that you ever wanted to do in your life because it's in your hand 24/7. Every tool is useful if you know how to use it, right? So depending what you're using that tool for, depends how much power you get out of it. So if you're just playing games that are on social media, and it's fine if you're on social media, if you're using it as a tool to win, right? Not as a tool to just socialize, then how's that all helping you move forward? So let me give you some quick action steps real quick. You know, what is it that you've ever wanted to do in your life, right? What's your 5-year game plan? Stop and think about that real quick. Write it down and then say, okay, great. Let me Google the top 10 best books to read, to learn, or move forward in that industry, right? Maybe you want to start your own business. What are the top 10 books ever on starting your own company? They'll pop up. I want to start a drop shipping business. I want to start an e-commerce company. I want to start my own YouTube channel. There's books on it. And here's a better one. It's on YouTube. You can just Google it and there'll be somebody who gives you advice on what top 10 books to pick that helped him the most. So there's just an endless amount of resources depending on the age bracket you're in. It's the sense isn't that common, right? You may not think to do this because even I know sometimes with our own daughter who's 15 years old and she's on social media 24/7, she'll ask me something. I'll be like, ask YouTube, right? So, and because there's somebody that explains it already. And I'm the YouTube guy, maybe not so much the Google guy. You know, YouTube slowly becoming the new Google, but have some action steps. All right, great. I got a book or an audio book on Scribed or Audible that I can jump on and now listen to the information and now come up with an actual action plan. Then type in what's the best action plan to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then slowly start to move for that. Then the third part may be, where can I find somebody who's already successful in the industry who can teach me to find a mentor or a coach? And that'll be the next step. And there's no order to this. It's just take the action step. The mentor part might be too intimidating for somebody in the beginning, but once you start that journey and you take the first step, it starts to become easier because now you're invested into it, right? Has anybody ever said, hey man, I got free Mets tickets, or I got free this tickets, and you're like, no, I'm good. But what happened now, if you paid $10 for that ticket, you're probably more likely going to go because you're invested into it, even though it only costs $10, right? So it's just the understanding, people, if you're not invested into something, you're never going to take the action steps. If information's free, you're probably not going to take the action steps. So is it important that you pay for some of this information? Absolutely, because the quality of the material in there, you're going to take a lot more serious whenever you pay for it. I'm even guilty of that. So information on YouTube is free, which is why most people don't take advantage of it. Now, if there's some sort of course or seminar you're interested in, pay for it. I say yes, dive in with both feet, even though you could probably find the information for free on YouTube, I bet you, if you search it properly. But hey, you know, if it's $100, well, what'd you guys spend the $100 on last week? Right? You know, they spend it on types of silly stuff. So that $100 you can feel good about investing into you. So that's the first step. Find out what you're going to do. Come out with some sort of action plan. Google or YouTube the top 10 books in the industry, then Google or YouTube the best action plan, and then start to Google or YouTube who are the best coaches and mentors that at least I can follow on Instagram, Facebook, and social media to start to pick up on some things, and then maybe start to find a local mentor that you can get under their wing to start to say, hey, maybe I can get some personal guidance to my scenario, and that'll be the best step you could ever take in your life, because the best step we've ever taken in our life is to be always on the lookout of finding multiple mentors in multiple industries, so we continually be learning all the time. Never stop the learning, guys. If you're standing still, you're moving backwards. There's no such thing as you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. So we're continually trying our best to continually grow and grow and grow and grow to the best of our ability, because the pursuit of excellence, it never ends. Nobody's perfect, and we're a good example of that. We're just trying the best we can to be better and give you guys back any nuggets that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to ask you really quick. As far as mentorship is concerned, I know you mentioned finding a local mentor. What do you recommend? Like, why do you recommend somebody have a local mentor versus just somebody random on YouTube or, one of these big influencers? Why would it be more powerful to have a local mentor, somebody who's invested in you versus,
easy answer. No need to go any further. That you said it right there. They're invested in you. If you're paying for an online Zoom mentor around the world, this guy who makes millions of dollars, and you pay a ton of money for an hour of his time, that person doesn't care about you, unfortunately. They do and they don't, right? They're not invested into you. They care about giving back and giving you some information, but you're worth $100 or whatever you pay to them. If you have a local mentor, you build an actual personal relationship with this person. They're invested into your life. They know you. You start to build some sort of a friendship with that individual. So now it's a much different relationship than that long distance or strictly all business relationship, which is how it'll start in the beginning. But the more you give them, the more that business relationship will start to develop into a friendship. So that's where it's important to find a local mentor to get that personal advice. I mean, if I can't call my coach at 2 a.m. or just call him for something that's crazy that's happening in my life for some help, and that obviously that's not something you can do in the beginning. You may need to find another coach or a second coach, right? If that makes some sense, right? So you may have your online or very experienced coach that's known worldwide, but it's very important you find that local mentor or local coach who can give you that one-on-one help when you need it, and then especially when you don't always have to pay for it, right? So there's different types of paid mentors and non-paid mentors.
That brings me to Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
It was so funny. We're sitting in a Tony Robbins seminar, and he starts to go over the keys to success, right? And he's like, this is the secret. Tell him what the secret is.
Oh, so it's a funny story. So we're sitting there, and Tony Robbins starts going through the secrets to success, right? And this is 80% of the people in the Prudential Center are all business owners. And he says, number one thing on the list, find a mentor, right? And now the funny thing is, we're actually there sitting with one of our mentors, and I'm like, check, right? And then he's like, number two thing to do. He's like, pick up a PMA book, a positive mental attitude book, so you stay positive, you're always learning. My mentor always told me to check, right? Then he said, find an association of people you can get around that all think the same way you do, so that way you're always moving forward. We said, oh man, we have that. Our mentor is a part of that association. Check. Make sure you're a part of an association of someone who's about 10 to 15 to 20 years ahead of you is teaching that organization, so that way you're always striving to do better. Check, right? And then he said, listen to audios every day, positive audios, podcasts, things on YouTube, whatever it is. So he starts to go down this list, and it's like, check, 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 check. That's everything that our mentors have always taught us to do and be a part of. Yeah. And these are things that weren't common sense to me because I wasn't raised in the entrepreneurial world. And even if people are in the business world, typically it's in the small business type of world where they're running a brick and mortar, or maybe they have some sort of online business, but they're missing all these other things that help them continually grow. And that's why being a part of an association and connecting with people that you trust and you can build a relationship with, and that'll connect you to other people that are experts, because no one's an expert in everything. And that's how you know if you got a good coach, is they'll say, I don't know the answer to that, but I know who does. Yeah. And they send you in that direction. That's somebody who cares about you, right? They're not playing God with your life, right? Because nobody knows everything. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't know, which is why we seek counsel from so many other people that are way more successful than we are. And we're still figuring things out along the way. And so are you. And this video could be your start or journey or first step into your entrepreneurial journey, to your new career in life, to whatever it is that you want to do. But if you don't feel like you're moving forward and feeling significant, then how could you, it's almost impossible to be happy. And that's a whole nother talk for another time.
Yeah, well, Can I mention this? Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned, you talked about finding, part of the action plan was was finding somebody who's an expert in the field that you want to learn more about, or the subject matter that you want to learn more about, and listening to their information on YouTube or what have you. And so I just want to be super clear. That's why we talked about the local mentor being much more valuable. But like, for instance, let's say right now, everybody's going through financial hardships. Where are you getting your information from? Are you on the news? If I look up stimulus check, there's a million videos that will pop up for stimulus check. And so all of this information, just the most relevant, the video that pops up first doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most credible. And so you really have to be good at discerning good information from bad information. And a lot of that is checking the fruit on the tree. So for instance, if I want to learn how to do budgeting, I'm not just going to watch random YouTube videos on budgeting. I'm going to look up some of the best budgeting tools on the market. I'm going to compare them. Before I ever buy software for our business, I always look up software. So a sales guy calls me, he's like, oh, you got to use this software. It's incredible. I'll say, who else? What other softwares do you compete against? What makes you better than them? And so now I get the list of this guy's competitors. Now I go online and I do this guy versus this guy. And I read everything that I possibly can. I test out both platforms. I have a conversation with both people, and I make a decision based on the best fit for me and my business, right? So it's just a matter of not just believing everything is true the moment you hear it, doing your own research, trusting yourself, and knowing that, hey, like, I can discern information. You don't have to believe everything that you hear. You can do your own research. You can vet information. What's the word that I'm looking for? There's a certain word.
Filter through information.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally capable. So yeah, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that was awesome. That was all right.
So really quick, I just wanted to play a fun game because I mentioned Quora and it just drives me crazy. And I will tell people randomly, I'm like, just listen, go on to Quora, subscribe, and wait to see what comes into your email. So just to prove to you guys how crazy the questions on Quora are, can a cop pull you over for crying while driving? This was a very important question from somebody. And it's incredible when you see the type of responses that they get, okay? Here's another one. How long will the coronavirus last? Okay, I'm sure that everyone that subscribes to Quora and takes part of Quora, I'm sure that there's at least a couple people on here who know the answer to that. Absolutely not. Nobody knows the answer to that, right? So that's crazy. Oh, here's a really good one. Hold on. You got it. This one's good. This one's good. Oh. What is something that almost nobody knows about whiskey? Well, that's interesting. The police contact you and ask you to come down to the station on your own to discuss an important matter. They won't say what, but you haven't committed a crime. Do you go? These are the questions I need you to ask yourself. Very important.
I think, just to kind of wrap things up here, I think the biggest thing to understand, and again, this is almost like common sense, but it's not, because we're all guilty of it because of bad
100%.
habits we've grown, is that the internet is filled with information, but about 98% of it is somebody's opinion and not fact, and probably really bad or fake or not credible information, unfortunately. So you got to know where you're going and check the resources is really what it is. So it's not just looking something up and taking someone's word for it the first time, especially if this is some sort of business or career path you're taking. You're playing with your life here. So that's why it's important. That's why, especially if it's through online or something and you're looking for coaches or information, look at several videos like Jamie just said and say, which one fits me? Which one can I relate to? Which one do I feel good about? And then fact check that and see how good you have to feel good about anything you're moving forward with. And that's the same with us. If you're listening or watching us right now, fact check us and who we are and other videos we have and make sure it matches up. Or if you're learning about a certain topic, go YouTube or Google some of the other topics. Maybe we don't connect with you the way somebody else does, right? So that's the whole thing. It's just information, right? Everybody needs to relate to somebody. You need to connect with somebody, but find the fact check everything before you make any type of moves in your life. And that's really what I wanted to kind of leave you guys off with. Anything you want to leave off with?
You're the best investment that you could ever make. You should be paying yourself first. You should be working the most on your own self-development, self-awareness. It's the most important thing that you can do in this life. You know, it's what determines all your relationships. It determines the quality of life that you have. So make sure that it's something that's important to you. And I know you always talk about people being like stock. You know, what's your stock value? What are you worth? And are you constantly adding and investing into yourself to grow your self-worth? So that's it.
And that last thing I'm leaving you off, and just because Jamie, perfect example of the stock, all stocks are going down, but is your stock going down or going up?
Oh.
So we're investing into ourselves a ton over these next 30, whatever the heck's going on. So our stock value keeps rising and rising
100%.
and rising. So when we come out of this, everybody's going to want to invest into us. And everybody's going to want to invest into you as long as you do something about it. So invest into yourself, guys. All right,
Awesome.
take it easy.
Love is real.